When selling becomes hard, it's 99% of the time because you have not done a great job of marketing what it is that you're selling. So then sales feels hard. It feels like you're being salesy. It feels like you're pushing. It feels like you're convincing because you haven't actually warmed it up with the marketing behind it.
Hello and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. On the show, I interview peak performing innovators in the creative, social impact, and earth conservation spaces. I also bring you ideas and techniques that you can grab and use to set goals, create, and unlock your potential for changing yourself and the world. And now let's get to the show. Hello, and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. Super happy that you're here. I'm also really happy to have this week's guest on the show. This is a slightly different episode for the show, but I think this guest brings such a community-minded spirit to what she does that I'm sure she's going to bring you tons of value. And she's going to bring me tons of value because I don't do what she does at all. And so I'm super excited to welcome Jillian Murphy to the show. Jillian Murphy is an industry sales leader as well as a business network and marketing mentor. Yes. With nearly 20 years of experience in sales and growing multiple businesses of her own, she made it a mission to help real entrepreneurs who want to grow and master sales with an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs supporting them. Wow, how amazing. She's been able to grow her own online business from $0 to $250,000 in just 15 months. And not only does she teach her real entrepreneurs the art of sales, and I say the art of sales, which is super cool, but she helps them refine and master the skills they need through her signature framework to grow their own businesses to 6+ figures as well. Oh, my stars, Jillian, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that intro too. It sounds great.
I appreciate that. So I'm thrilled to have you in part because I think my audience, the people who are listening, often are creatives who have no idea how to sell their creative work, their creative product, if you will. And so I'm amazed that they're willing to talk to me about this because it's so important to people like me who I am a creative entrepreneur and I look at sales and I go, huh? So I'm super glad that you're here. But I would love to just jump right in and I'd love to ask you, I've heard this before, but I'd like it if you define it for me. What is the difference between sales and marketing?
Oh, I love this question. Yes. So sales is really the art of closing, and marketing is everything that you do leading up to the sale. So I want you to think about the sale is, would you like to buy? Are you ready to move forward? The sale is the money exchange. That's when you go to the cash register. The marketing is everything that you're doing that is leading up to that close. And if you're a good marketer or you have good marketing or you've done marketing correctly, the sale should be so much easier. When selling becomes hard, it's 99% of the time because you have not done a great job of marketing what it is that you're selling. So then sales feels hard. It feels like you're being salesy. It feels like you're pushing. It feels like you're convincing because you haven't actually warmed it up with the marketing behind it.
I love that you said that. And because I always feel like I'm being pushy if I try to sell. And I get people wanting to buy my stuff, which I think is great. But when it comes to the actual sort of, as you said, closing, I freeze up. And I know lots of other people who do too. They have this fear of actually asking for the sale. And I've heard that that's a big problem for people, that they forget to actually ask for the sale. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for that? Like, what does someone who is in that position of going, I don't know what to do next, what do you tell them to do?
Yes. So the majority of people don't like asking for the sale because it's uncomfortable and it's awkward. And for the most part, most people have been sold to in a way that didn't feel good to them. Maybe they were buying shoes at Nordstrom's, or they were buying a car, or, they were somewhere that somebody was pushing sales on them. So they got an icky feeling around sales. Mm-hmm. So I always say, when it comes to asking for the sale, how do you like to be sold to? And then try to reciprocate that back in the way that you do it. Also, if you are uncomfortable asking for the sale, try to remember, are you sold on what it is that you're selling? So if you are super confident in your products, your services, what you're launching as a creative, what it is that you have. If you're confident in it, you should be very confident asking for it. So a lot of times, if you're not confident in yourself yet, in your products, that's where you're not confident asking for it. So like for me, for an example, as a service provider, I'm beyond confident in my services. So it doesn't matter to me if it's $300 that I'm asking for, $3,000, $30,000, $300,000. I'm confident in my services. But if I was trying to sell something that I was not confident in, maybe it was, a different type of product, or I was a car salesman or something else, I would then not feel comfortable asking for the close because I'm not confident on that product. So you have to be your first sale if you are going to try to sell your products to somebody else.
Well, I just found my little snippet that's going to go right at the very front of the episode. You have to be no, seriously, that's brilliant. You have to be you have to sell to yourself first. I love that.
You have to be your first sale.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so you've just blown my mind in the first 5 minutes of this chat. So, okay, so you have to be your first sale, which I think is great. And yet, I'm going to delve into the psychology a little bit of if that's okay with you. There are people out there. Oh, thank you. Good. There are people out there who go, oh, yeah, I know. I'm supposed to sell, and I'm supposed to be my first sale. I'm supposed to be confident, and it's not that I'm not confident in the product. It's that I'm not confident in myself. Mm-hmm. Right. So when you're doing sales, I imagine that must come through somehow. Like if you're trying to sell and it's not that you're not confident in the product, you love the product, you're really happy with it, but you're kind of doing this, but what about me? What if I'm not up for it? What if I'm not good enough? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So most people take a no in sales so personal. So that's really the psychology of sales, is they're thinking, well, what if somebody says no? Or what if, I follow up and they're going to judge me, or I put it out on social media, or I ask for the sale. And you really have to remember that you're going to get no's. People are absolutely going to tell you no. I mean, I've been selling for 22 years and, I'm a high ticket closer and people tell me no all the time. You have to remember that your worth is not attached to anybody buying your programs. You're buying your services, buying whatever it is that you have, or even saying yes if you're selling a product or you're a creative or whatever it is that you have. It's not attached to your worth. And if you can be detached from the outcome and just remember that it has nothing to do with you. And it's almost like, again, it's almost like a game. Like for every no that you get, know that you're also going to get a yes, and knowing that your worth is just not attached to that. Because when it comes to sales, it is definitely a mindset thing. And so again, if you can just really tap into that mindset around sales and know that it has nothing to do with you personally. Again, most people buy for their own reasons. And I'll tell you, most people say no to products, services, whatever it is because they don't trust themselves in what it is that they're going to buy. So it really has nothing to do with the person who's trying to sell it on the other end.
I'm taking all of this in for a second. Wow. Okay. So this is different. This is different than I'm used to. than I'm used to hear from salespeople. Honestly, you sound like you're a reincarnation of Zig Ziglar, actually. So, which I think is
it's a great compliment. So I want you to think about going to the gym, right? So there's a lot of people on here that probably go to the gym or work out. So the person that goes to the gym and is buying a gym membership, the person that's selling a gym membership, the person on the other end that is saying no is not basing the no on the person selling the gym membership. They're actually saying no because they don't trust themselves that they're going to show up. They don't trust themselves that they're going to actually go to the gym. They don't trust themselves that they're actually going to do the work. So it actually has nothing to do with the person on the other end of the desk that's trying to sell it. It's actually more on them that they're going to do the work. So the majority of no's in sales has a lot more to do with the person buying than it actually has to do with the person trying to close.
That's so interesting. And I know that people say, get to 100 no's, just keep going. And I guess separating yourself is from that no and not taking it personally is really important. And Yet that's a time investment, right? If you're going to keep going and you're going to do that, it's a big, huge time investment for you and an energy investment to get to that 100 no's, to keep going, to keep going, to keep going. What thoughts do you have about the support someone who's an entrepreneur like that, creative or otherwise, might need in order to sort of stay the course?
Yeah. So I don't actually have a huge belief on like, hey, let's see how many no's we can get. I'm more in the belief system of let's put you in front of the right people that
Ooh,
need
okay.
that need your products, programs, and services, right? So like I work with a lot of network marketers, for an example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in, hey, let's DM or message every single person you went to high school with and message 100 people so that one person says yes. No, I believe in let's put you in front of the right people. Let's get your messaging right. Let's go back to the marketing. Let's get your marketing right so that you don't have to get in front of 100 people to say no. Let's get you in front of 10 people that are going to actually say yes. Because again, psychology and mindset and confidence is going to get destroyed if you're getting told no all day long. It's kind of like, people hand them a phone book and they're like, go through the phone book and get told no 100 times and one person's going to tell you yes. Well, how about we flip the script and put you in front of the right people that are actually going to tell you yes? Because again, it's going to destroy somebody's mindset, their confidence, and all of those things. Get your products in front of the right people, get your marketing right, get your messaging right, and get that right first.
Okay. So having heard what you just said, and I love that, how do you find out who the right people are? If you're selling or marketing or whatever those steps are, and I hope that you will delineate them for me in a minute, how do you find out who those right people are?
So one, if you're a service provider, if you're a creative, if you're an online coach, if you're an entrepreneur, market research is going to be your best friend.
Okay.
So polling your audience, asking people, do you want this? The number one thing that people come to me for is I can't sell my stuff. I can't sell it. I can't sell whether it's a course, whether it's a soap, whether it's a pair of leggings, whatever it is. I work with people in every aspect of their businesses. And the number one thing that I always say is, do you even know if your audience wants this? We so often create things because we think that our audience wants it. And one of the things that I know to be true is don't create anything until we know that there's a need for it. Go out, ask your friends, ask your family, ask on Facebook, ask your community, ask your network, ask on Instagram, do polls, search the internet, see if there's a need first before you put something out into the market and then it falls flat. I'm going to give you a great example. I've been extremely successful in the online space as an online business coach. Every single thing that I put out, I ask my audience first, does this sound like a good idea? Does it sound like something that you would want? Would you pay for this? Does the time sound like a good investment? Do you like the graphic of this? Do you like the name of this? Then I go out and create it versus, hey, I have this idea. I'm going to put it out to the market and then I'm going to hope that it sells.
I'm taking that in. I think that's great. And I love the notion of doing that sort of market research, as you called it. Amy Porterfield,
Yes.
guru goddess of online marketing, talks about that a lot. She talks about getting those blitzes done. Like, oh, you're going to need to find out whether or not the thing that you want to do is actually something anybody'd want to buy. And I know that there are places like Answer the Public, which is a great website.
I love Answer the Public. It's my best friend.
I know. I love it too. And what it is, and actually, why don't you say what it is? So I'm not the one saying what it is, because you're the one who are the expert here. What is Answer the Public?
Answer the Public is just this, it's a free website, really. I mean, I know there's a paid version. I don't use the paid version. And you can literally go on it and you can ask the public what they're looking for. So, you can type in gut health and see what the public is looking for. You can put in magic. You can put in fitness. You can put in sales coaching. You can put in chocolate. You can put in sex. You can put in masculine energy. You can literally put in anything. And what it does is it derives information back to what the public is searching for, what they're looking for. So then that becomes, great market research. It becomes a great place that you can create content out of. It becomes, great information you can create blogs out of, anything like that. Because, even as, an online provider, anybody who's creating social media content, anything, you want to deliver your marketing back to how the public is looking for it. So for an example, as a sales coach, if someone is asking, online, how do I sell without being salesy? Everything that I put out, if I'm trying to sell, is let me teach you how to sell without being salesy. Let me teach you the secrets of how to sell without being salesy. That's how I'm going to market my stuff, because that's how the public is looking to solve that problem, versus let me give you a course on the ROI of sales. That's not how the public is looking to solve that problem. And remember, people buy solutions for their problems. So we want to market it based on how they're looking for it to solve their problems.
I love that you said that. And I think that it's such a truism, and it's something we forget, that it's, we're all in sort of the business of solving other people's problems. No matter what you do, you're kind of in the business of doing that, which I think is great. And yet, when I look at sales, it's like doing my taxes. I have to really gear myself up for doing it, because I find it hard to get to that place. But according to you, it's sort of the last step, which I think is also interesting. And I'd love it if you would do me a favor and say, if you can, what sort of not the timeline, but the chronology of selling a product would be, of developing it, and then I guess marketing and selling it. What would you tell someone going, I've got this artist business where I paint people's cats. I don't know. Let's say that's it.
Sure.
And how do I go out there and sell my paintings to these people?
So if you have a business, you have this idea, let's call it idea to execution. So you have this idea, you're sitting at home and you're like, I'm going to start painting portraits of people's cats. I would start with doing some market research. Is that a need? Do people want portraits of their cats? Ask. Google it, go to Answer the Public, do some polls on your social media, ask on Facebook, ask, out in public, see if there's even a need for it. Because again, just because you're at home and you think it's a great idea, we want to make sure that this is another thing. Just because there's an idea, we also want to make sure that it's a profitable idea, because businesses need revenue. And the only way that we get revenue is creating sales. So just because it's an idea, we want to make sure that we can make it into a profitable idea. So you want to do some market research. Then you would start to market it. You would start to tell people, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. This is the passion behind it. This is why I've created it. This is who it's for. Like, I've created exclusively for, people who have this type of cat, or you want to showcase your cat, or if you're a cat lover, then you want to get very specific of who it's for. It's not just for any cat lover, right? You want to really speak it out. Then you want to showcase it. You want to be known as this is your zone of genius. Like, you are the go-to person for anybody who wants to have their cat drawn. So one thing that I love to talk about is like being that go-to person, being the one person that people think of. So like for me, when people say like, I need someone to teach me sales, they're like, oh, Jillian Murphy. So being that one person that people think of. So really start to be that person that people think of when they need their cat drawn. So you are that person. So you start to market yourself as that. You start to showcase yourself as that. You start to be that person. Then you start to, go places, market yourself, put out social media content, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, whether it's going to carnivals or fairs, whatever it is, wherever your place of marketing is. I mean, I think people forget that, marketing can be done in person, virtual, social media. There's so many different places that you can market it, and then selling it and showing up confidently and saying, like, if you want a picture of your cat drawn, like, I am the expert in this, and let me show you why. Show people why you're the expert, and then say, like, let's do this. Let me draw your cat. Let's do it. That would be my timeline.
I love it. Okay, cool. So somewhere in there, you go from I do this, and I have become the go-to person to let me draw your cat, right?
Yeah, I call it mental real estate. So
okay.
You basically want to be the person when someone says like, oh, I need my cat drawn, or I need a clown, or I need a sales coach, or I need a mindset coach, or I want a realtor in Oklahoma, or I need the best burger place in town, or I need the best latte. You want to be that place, that person, that thing, that service provider that people are like, oh, I know just that right person. So what it is like you're taking up mental real estate in somebody's head as that go-to person.
Okay, so let's say that's, that you can do that. You can go, okay, I need a real estate person in Oklahoma. How often does someone go, let me ask my friends first, hey, who's the best real estate person in Oklahoma City versus let me just Google that, right? Because Google is no longer just a search engine. People pay for ads and they pay for being on the first page and all this other stuff. How do you navigate that? The difference between the word of mouth, like you mentioned, versus you're the first ad that Google will show the person asking for a real estate agent in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. So personally, I think that you can build a phenomenal business on word of mouth and via social media without even having a website, without even being on Google. So I'll be very honest with you.
That's great.
I don't have a website. I'm not on Google. I don't have a sales page. I have built my entire business, and you shared my numbers at the beginning of this episode. You can't even find me on a website. I don't have a sales page. I don't have anything. So again, I have created my whole entire business just on like word of mouth, networking, virtual, things like that. So I don't even think that you need all of those things. It's just about being confident in what you have and then letting people know that, hey, if you want someone to sell your house in Oklahoma, someone to draw your cat, someone to teach you sales, like I'm that person. And you get back to being scrappy and just going out and really like hustling in the beginning. Because also people spend a lot of money in the beginning that they don't need to spend. You don't always need a website. You don't need to run ads. You don't need to put your stuff up on Google. You just need to go out and tell people like, I'm the expert and I'm the person that can draw your cat, help you with sales, do mindset, be the magician, do all these things. And let's just do this.
That's awesome. Okay. So let me turn that around a little bit and go, what if you are someone who's a writer? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Your product is a book. And of course there's Amazon, that's the behemoth and all of that other stuff. What would you say to someone? I am the best mystery novelist on the planet. I am the person who you want to buy the book from. I mean, it's a little different psychology there because you're trying to get to people who might want to read a mystery or a romance or whatever, to tell them that they're going to really love this. And how do you know if they're going to really love this? I get your, be confident in it, totally, but it's a different way of talking about it. Can you talk a little bit about what someone who's doing something like that, that's got kind of a small product that actually is ubiquitous, would do to get people to know that their book is out, that their new essential oil is out or something like that?
Yeah. So I would say the one thing that I love to tell people to do, especially if they have like a smaller product like that, is really build community.
Okay.
So build community maybe around a Facebook group, maybe build it around like a Mighty Network, which is like an app. Build community. So like I have a girl that I work with who is an author. I actually have a girl I work with that is in essential oils. I have a girl that I work with that owns like a soap company. And the way that they do it, because they don't want to spend a lot of money on ads and all those other things, is they build their community in Facebooks. And they start to funnel people in there and they really showcase their products and their services there, because then what they're doing too is they're doing two things. They're building the community, they're bringing people in it, and then they also have a hub for market research. So now you want to write your next book, you want to do your graphics for it, you want to do the cover, you also have a hub of people that you can go to and ask them all the questions right inside of there.
Okay. So sorry, I'm like mentally furiously scribbling notes down.
No.
Kevin Kelly talks about the need for 1,000 true fans, right? If you've read that piece of his, and I love that. And I know most creative entrepreneurs that I know aren't anywhere near 1,000, right? There may be 100, 200, maybe even 300 or 400, and growing that list, growing the people who are interested in what they're doing is arduous. They don't know what to do. So I imagine that's marketing, not sales. When someone is having that kind of trouble building community, what's your advice for someone who has trouble with that?
Yes. So community can be the hardest thing to build and it can be the easiest thing to build. So community will always be the number one step when you're trying to build a business.
Okay.
So I think going back to step one is always going to be the most important thing. And this is the number one thing I work with on my clients. You have to build community first. If you build community first, you will always have a hub to go back to. You will always have a community to go back to for, again, market research, sales, all of those things. If you're having a trouble building community, you have to go back to the drawing board in ways that you build community. One is lookalike audiences. So go find your people, go find them in other Facebook groups, go find them in other communities, go out and connect with them, making sure that you have, content that converts to bring them over to them. Find your people. There's, 3.8 billion people in the world. What makes people want to join your community? Is it a movement? Is it something that they're getting part of your community? What are the core values about your community that makes it different? What makes people want to join your community, right? So like, I'm just going to use me for an example.
Mm-hmm.
I have an amazing community of, people who want to learn sales. Sales is not like the sexiest thing in the world to learn, but like there's things about my community that are different. So again, like what are the core values that people get when they're part of your community? So if you're a writer, or if you're selling essential oils, or you're drawing cats, or whatever it is, what's magnetizing about you that people want to be part of your community and your brand?
I would love to find out from you if you have ideas on how someone finds that out. If someone is new to all of this, how do you find out what's magnetizing? I guess charismatic is another way of saying it. What's magnetizing about you? How do you figure that out? Is it, again, that market research? Is that asking people, or are there other ways to figure out those nuances?
So when it comes to like your own personal brand, I always say when you're building a personal brand, there's a couple questions you want to ask. One is, what do you want people to feel when they come to you, to your community, to your Instagram, to your Facebook, to your store, right? Because at the end of the day, it's your business, it's your store. So whether somebody was coming to Jillian Murphy's sales store and I was a storefront, or Jillian Murphy's sales online, it's still a storefront. So it's like, what's the feeling that you want somebody to get when they come to it? So what's the feeling that you want? So, whether you journal this out, or you write it down, or you really get clear of like, what is it that you want somebody to feel? So, do you want someone, when they come to your community, do you want them to feel like a sense of home? Do you want them to feel upbeat? Do you want them to feel fun? Do you want them to feel safe? Do you want them to feel like it's, like a no BS environment? Do you want them to feel a sense of like family? So I'll give you a great example. I actually work with a girl who's a reader, and she reads a non-fictional book a day, and she has a community of books. And one of the ways that we built community was she built a community where she wanted people to feel that when they were part of her Facebook and part of her community, that it was like a escape from reality, and it was like their safe place. So everything that she built inside of her community and her Facebook group and everything that she does is like this place of like safety, this place of like calmness, a place of like escape from like chaos and all of this, right? So it's about building that away from it, where like my personal brand is like, hey, you're going to learn sales. It's a very no BS approach. You can come in and you can be real and you can be authentic, and we're going to support you in community. And it's like no fluff, right? So like you want to get very clear of like, what's the emotion that you want somebody to feel when they're in your community? And then you build your brand around that. That's like the first step. And then again, like, who are you at the core? Because who you are at the core is most likely who you will attract in. So again, go back to my client who's the reader, right? Like she's a little more quiet. She's a little more shy. She's a little bit more of an introvert. So guess who she's attracting into her community? People that are just like her, because like attracts like. So she's magnetically just attracting those types of people into her world because she's a magnet for that. The people that I attract into my world are just like me. They run in my same type of energy. They run in more like a masculine energy, a very like no fluff energy, like, because like attracts like. I don't attract a lot of introverts into my world. I don't attract a lot of, I attract like attracts like. So when you're creating your community, you want to say like, who do I want to bring in? And then you want to show up as that, because that's who you're going to bring in as your own brand.
Again, I'm taking all this in because it's great, and I appreciate this incredible experience that
Amazing.
you have.
Of course.
I would love to know, like, obviously you have this go-getter energy that goes with that precedes you, right? That's fabulous, and I'm grateful for people like you, because you're able to do things the rest of us are going, well, I'm going to scratch my head for a while. But you grew your online business from nothing to $250,000 in a little
Mhm.
over a year, and which I find amazing. And I'd love it if you would talk a little bit about how you were able to do that. What did you do to go from 0 to 60 in zero point 0.2 seconds?
Yeah. So I would say that the three biggest things that I did was I went all in from day one. So there is a saying that I have that I've used. So I was in corporate for 22 years. So I managed, tons of salespeople, tons of people. And there are two types of people in this world. There's doers and there's talkers. And people either say they're going to do things, which are the talkers, or the people who are going to do things and they actually do it. So I am a doer. So if I say I'm going to start an online business, I'm going to lose the weight, I'm going to, go for the hike, whatever it is, like I'm going to do it. So from day one, I set the goal and I did it. So again, there's a lot of people who say like, oh, I'm going to start the business. I'm going to start the cat painting business. I'm going to become the realtor, and they just never do it. And again, there's nothing wrong with either types of people. There's just different personalities. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that has made me successful is because of one, I have a very doer personality. Second thing that I did was I invested in myself, in my business from day one. So I linked arms with people who were light years ahead of me, who had businesses that I wanted, lifestyles that I dreamed of, that I wanted, and I invested in them because I wanted to collapse time. Because what I know to be true is that money is a renewable resource, but time is not.
Mm.
So if I wanted to get somewhere, I wanted to hire someone that could get me there quicker, because I could figure it out on my own. I could read the books, I could take the courses, I could Google it, I could answer the public, I could do all the things, or I could hire someone that had just built a business or had been in business that could get me there quicker. So I decided I was going to do it, number one, and I hired the help. And then number three was I was massively consistent. So from day one to now today, 22 months later, I've been massively consistent growing my business. So again, I had that doer attitude. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to show up for a couple weeks, then I'm going to take a break. I'm going to kind of show up and I'm going to kind of take a break. I've consistently built my business from day one. And that's why I've had the success that I've had.
What does that last one mean? Because I love what you said, and I think it's great. Massively consistent. Does that mean in nurturing your community? Does that mean in doing social media posting? Does that mean in looking for referrals? What does it mean to be massively consistent while you're scaling from 0 to multiple six figures?
It means all of those, what
Okay.
you just said. Yeah. So this is I actually I just did an Instagram rant on this yesterday.
I love it.
I did a very big rant on this, because this is what I see so often. People want these like dream businesses, right? Everybody wants to leave the 9 to 5, leave the trading time for money, all of these things. But they forget that they are still building businesses, and you have to do the work. Like you have to still be prospecting, you have to be lead generating, you have to be nurturing, you have to be building your community. Like it still takes that work. Now, do I work 40, 50, 60 hours? No, but I'm still putting in the work. I'm lead generating every single day, because again, community is number one. I have to be bringing people into my pipeline. And again, I don't have fancy systems. I don't even have a website, but I have to be bringing people into my world every day, because sales is a numbers game. So if I want to be selling things, I have to be bringing people in. So I'm, connecting in Facebook groups, connecting in the real world, bringing people into my world. I'm nurturing the people that are already in my world, in my Facebook group, on my social media. I'm asking questions, I'm putting out offers, I'm selling. I'm unapologetically selling every day. This is how you can work with me. This is what I have. These are the offers. And this is the other thing. People don't like to sell. They're like, oh, I don't really want to sell. I don't want to talk about my offers. I don't want to put out there that I have anything for sale. I don't want to talk about my essential oils. I don't want to talk about the fact that I paint cats. I don't want to talk about it. You have to be talking about what you're selling if you want to create revenue in your business. You are basically a coffee shop. I want you to think about this. You don't go into like a Starbucks or a Tim Hortons and say like, does this place serve coffee? And like, how do I pay for it? You are a business. People need to know, one, what you do, and two, how they can buy from you. So if you are a business, whether you paint cats, sell essential oils, read magic cards, or are a sales coach, people need to know how they can buy from you and how they can work from you. And if you are not telling people consistently how they can buy from you, most likely they're not going to be buying from you because they're not going to know.
That's another snippet that should be at the very front of the episode. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. If you're not telling people consistently how they can buy from you, why would they know to buy from you? And that is amazing to me because that is something I think you have to be proud of, right? You have to be proud of what you're selling or you're never going to be able to sell consistently. Is that a fair assessment?
100,000%. When I start working with people and, like I go either on their social media or, I follow them wherever. And I say, if I have to search for how to work with you, we have a problem. You're a business owner. I should be able to find out how to work with you or how to pay you in 3 seconds because people have the attention span of a goldfish. That's a fun fact. A human has a attention span 1 second longer than a goldfish. So if they come to you and they can't figure out how to pay for you or how to buy from you, they're going to go to the next thing. So we have to let people know, like, this is what I offer and this is how you can work with me. We have to be putting that in front of them at all times. And you don't have to be doing it in like an obnoxious, salesy, convincing, gross way, but it needs to be out there all the time so that people know.
I love that. No obnoxious or salesy, but it needs to be out there. And if somebody wants to find you, somebody wants to work with you, I imagine that means that they could just go to your Instagram and that information would be there, right? You've set it up so that it's very easy to find how to work with you, correct?
Yes. And it's funny because I said I don't have a web page, but I'm in my Instagram stories every day. And I will say, like, let's jump on a call. I'd love to connect with you if you're curious about how to grow your sales. And it's not even in a way that's, I say, hey, do you want coaching or do you want to buy from me? Or let me tell you about my course. I do a very laid back sales approach. And it might say something like, hey, I just got off a call with a one-on-one client and she had great success. If you're ready to grow your sales, let's chat. Or, hey, I just got off a podcast today and we talked about sales growth. If you're ready to move the needle in your business, I'd love to connect. Like it doesn't always have to be buy my stuff, but you need to be talking about how you help people with the problem if you want people to buy your stuff. Because again, people buy to move from pain to pleasure. People buy solutions all the time. I'm looking at the Starbucks cup I have in front of me right now. I bought a cup of coffee today to move from tired to energy. Like people buy solutions every day.
I'm nodding my head. So I'm realizing you're not seeing me. That's right. So I heard you say that sales is the oxygen of your business, which I think is lovely. Can you talk a little bit about exactly what that means? Because to me, as a creative, a lot of my time is spent creating, and I'm talking to you and it feels like that should almost be switched a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about what those ratios might need to be from working, what they say in your business versus working on your business?
Yes, I love this conversation. I have this conversation all the time because I actually work with a ton of creatives who will say, I was journaling or I was creating or I was building or I was doing all these things. And those are all amazing things. We need all of those things for our businesses to grow. But you need to be doing income producing activities if you want your business to be generating revenue. Your business grows on income. A business stays open when it generates revenue, when there's money coming into it. That's why I say sales is the oxygen of your business. We pay our bills based on money. So we have to have money coming into our business. So that is why sales is truly the oxygen of any business. That's what keeps the lights on, the doors open, for us to be able to buy supplies, to keep our Zoom links on, all of those things. So I would say, making sure that we're doing the things that is going to allow us to be doing those creative things. So let's go back to the guy who, paints the cats. If your dream job is to paint cats, the creative part is drawing the cats, but you need to be doing the things that allows you to be painting the cats. So that's networking, letting people know that you paint cats, connecting with people, marketing yourself, making sure that, you have leads coming in, making sure that there's people that want you to paint their cats. Because if you just sit back and, dream about this business or buy supplies or, draw cats on your own, you're not actually making revenue. You actually don't have a business. You actually have a hobby. I call it a jobby.
I love it.
Yeah, you actually have a jobby. You don't actually have like a real job.
Okay. And I adore that. And I'm just going there, what you said earlier in this chat, you were like, look, you can be a talker or you can be a doer, and I'm a doer, which I think is great. And yet there are people who are going to be dragging their feet. And it sounds to me like what you're saying, like, okay, if you're dragging your feet, that might be who you are. That might be what you need to do right now. But if you want it to be a business, you're going to have to stop dragging your feet. If you were going to say that to someone, what would the very first step need to be for them to stop dragging their feet? Like I always tell my clients, start where you are. It can be tiny, but you have to take at least a step. What would that step be for someone who's going, okay, that's it. I've been making my cat paintings for so long. Now I'm ready to take a step and really sell them. What is the very, very first thing someone needs to do to get going?
So there's an exercise that I love to do, and it's called Start, Stop, Find. And what this is you should make a list of everything, and you can make it small, make it 2 or 3 things if you're, a talker. And it's everything that you need to start doing. So maybe it's, I need to start being on social media, or I need to start networking, or I need to start, getting up earlier, or I need to start drinking my water, whatever it is, like all the things you need to start doing and then checking those things off. All the things you need to stop doing. So maybe it's stop making excuses. Maybe it's stop scrolling on social media. Maybe it's, stop pretending that I have a business when I really don't. Maybe it's, stop avoiding selling, and then find. So maybe find is like find an accountability partner, find a business mentor that's going to, get my butt in gear. Maybe it's find somebody who wants to buy my painting. Maybe it's find a community that wants to do my services. So this exercise, start, stop, find, is something I do with my clients all the time. And it really puts into perspective, like what you need to start doing for your business, stop doing for your business, and find for your business to move in the right direction.
That is awesome. And I love that. And do you have anything that people could, like a little notebook or one sheet for that? Or is it just that's what it is and they should just do it?
Yeah. So what I do with a lot of my clients is I'll put a timer on, depending on like who they are. Like if they're, people who are really dragging their feet, I might do it for like a minute. And so I just put a timer on and I just say, hey, let's just brain dump. And brain dumping is really where you just like dump everything out on what you have to do. And it's, just put it all out on paper, what you have to do, and then circle, the things that are going to move the needle the most in your, your business, your creativeness, all of those things. And, you can do this for your personal life. So, like for me, it'll be like, I need to stop, hitting the snooze. I need to, I need to start, I need to start, buying better groceries for my body, or I need to, find a personal trainer. It doesn't even always have to be business related. It can be, I need to stop picking fights with my husband. Like it can just be anything, but it really puts it out when you do this exercise. It brings everything like to the forefront.
I love that. That is a great exercise, and I'm super grateful that you mentioned it. I'd like to pivot just a minute, if it's okay with you, to talk a little bit about a different level or a different facet of my audience. A lot of the people who listen to this show are people who work in the environmental field and conservation and all that, and climate change and all of that. And those are big issues, of course. But getting people to understand that they're potentially big issues historically has been very difficult. So that whole idea that you talk about with market research, for example, what would you need to do if you are someone who works at an animal sanctuary or something like that, and you want to sell T-shirts with your logo on them or something like that? How would you find those people? If you want to work in saving the oceans, how would you find the people who would recognize that that's an important issue, even though there are lots of people out there, sadly, who don't recognize that it's an important issue? What would you need to do there?
I would say I would maybe go to events where you think that your ideal people would be.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I would spend time in Facebook groups. I would look at like lookalike audiences. So, for an example, if it's, dog rescues, let's just say, or, saving the earth. If somebody wants to save the earth, what are some other tendencies that they probably have? They probably also like to recycle, right? They also what are some other things they probably think about, and then find those same characteristics and think about it like that. So I'm going to use I'm going to put it into fitness because it'll make more sense. If you're trying to find someone who wants to eat healthy, where else would they be? They would also be looking up gym memberships. They'd also be looking up Peloton, right? So think about that person, that persona of the environmental person. What else would they be looking at? What other groups would they be in? What other events would they be in? What other books would they be reading? What other things would they be doing? What, events would they be going to? Maybe concerts, things like that. Charities would they be part of? And then where would they be spending their time? And then go to something like that.
Fabulous. I love that. That is so great. It's an extrapolation almost going to thank you so much for that. That's wonderful. Jillian, I actually could keep you here for the next 6 hours, but I understand that you have a life to get back to. So
I have to say, this has been probably one of my favorite episodes. And I do 1 to 2 podcast episodes a day. This has been an amazing episode. I've loved chatting with you.
Oh, me too. This is great. And honestly, you're welcome back anytime, because this is the psychology of this, and the stop being a talker and start being a doer is something that I certainly need to hear when it comes to sales. So I'm really grateful that you took the time to be here. I would love it if you would give, because people learn differently, and it's all going to be in the show notes, but I'd love it if you'd give where people can find you.
Yes, absolutely. So they can find me at the Jillian Murphy on Instagram. So if you guys are on the gram, feel free to follow me, drop me a DM, say hello. Tell me what you took away from this episode. I'd love for you to say hello. And then I actually have an amazing community, which I know we talked about earlier in the show, on Facebook, and it's called Good to Gold Sales, the number 2. And it's an amazing community, and it's not all things sales, but it's, business. We have creatives in there. We have salespeople in there. We have business in there. And I actually teach free sales in there 3 to 4 times a week. And it's an amazing community. So if you've liked my energy, you've liked my vibe, and you've, resonated with me, I'd love to invite you into that as well. And I'm sure that she will put it in the show notes as well.
I absolutely will. And heck, I'm going to join the group myself.
It's amazing. It's a great community.
That's exciting. That's wonderful. Awesome. Jillian, thank you so much. Before we leave this part of the episode and go to the bonus round, I have just one last question, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
It's a silly question, but I find that it can yield some profound answers. And here's the question. If you had an airplane that could skywrite anything for the whole world to see, what would you say?
Oh, let me think about that. It would say, play bigger.
I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And it's that, yes, you're so succinct. That's great. I love your energy. All right, cool. Jillian, thank you so much for being here. If you are listening to this and you need to get into Jillian's Facebook group, because wow, right? So if you're listening to this, go to the show notes, find her Facebook group, find her Instagram. Obviously, this amazing person brings such value. So yay. Thank you so much, Jillian, for being here. I am Isolde Trachtenberg for the Innovative Mindset Podcast. As always, reminding you can join the Coffee by the Water Club and get the bonus episode that you can only get there. And otherwise, I remind you to be bold, be creative, and most of all, be kind. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new, and it would mean the world to me if you told a friend about it. Today's episode was produced by Isolde Trachtenberg and is copyright 2022. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope. Until next time, remember to be bold, be creative, and most of all, be kind. Thank you.